For 5 long weeks, Michael and Emily woke up to the same nightmare. Day after day, their 5-year-old daughter, Lily, had disappeared without a single trace. No witnesses had seen anything. No clues pointed anywhere. The police scoured the woods, searched every nearby street, checked every home in the neighborhood. Nothing. It was as if Lily had simply slipped off the face of the earth. Even the officers had started losing hope. But on the 7th evening, something unusual happened. At exactly 7:14 p.m., a strange scratching sound echoed from the living room window. Michael hurried forward and froze in place. A police K-9, a German shepherd named Ranger, stood outside. His paws were pressed firmly against the glass, his stare intense and strangely purposeful. He didn't bark, didn't shift, didn't act like a normal dog. He just stared, as though trying desperately to communicate. The next day, Ranger returned, and the next, always 7:14 p.m., always scratching, tapping, whining softly. No one knew why he came. But when the truth finally surfaced, Michael and Emily would go pale, horrified that they hadn't understood sooner. Stay with us. This story will leave you shocked. Before we begin, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Also, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The evening Lily vanished had begun just like any other. A quiet Thursday, peaceful and predictable. At least that's what Michael and Emily believed while they watched Lily color on the living room floor. Sunlight spilled to the window in soft golden streaks, glowing across her tiny hands as she carefully shaded the wings of a cartoon butterfly. She hummed softly, kicking her little feet. So full of innocence, so full of life. Michael remembered thinking the moment was perfect, calm, normal. There were no warnings, no strange footsteps, no feeling that disaster was minutes away. Lily had asked to play outside for just 5 minutes. Emily hesitated, then agreed. From the kitchen window, she could see the yard clearly. Lily slipped on her shoes, grabbed her beloved stuffed bunny, and darted outside with a cheerful giggle. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. Emily glanced out again and froze. The yard was empty. At first she assumed Lily had wandered to the swing set or behind the bushes. She walked outside, calling her name lightly, expecting the girl to pop out giggling, as she usually did during hide-and-seek. But there was no sound, no rustling, no running feet. "Lily," she called again, louder now, her voice trembling. Michael rushed out to help, checking the fence, the shed, the garden. Each second stretched painfully. Then they saw it, the stuffed bunny lying near the back gate, face down in the grass. Lily never left it behind. Ever. Panic slammed into them. Michael dialed 911 with shaking hands. Emily raced to neighbors' doors, begging them to search their yards. Within minutes, police cars flooded the street. Officers spread out with flashlights. Voices echoed Lily's name into the growing darkness. AK-9 team arrived. Ranger, the German shepherd trained in tracking missing children, sniffed Lily's bunny and lunged forward with determination, pulling his handler toward the woods behind the house. Michael and Emily followed, hearts pounding. Every snapping twig made Emily flinch. Every rustle felt like a warning. Ranger barked sharply, following a trail deeper and deeper, until suddenly he stopped, whined, circled, lost the scent. Just like that, the trail ended, and with it, the last piece of certainty Michael and Emily had been clinging to. The world that night felt colder, quieter. Their daughter, who loved butterflies and bedtime stories, was simply gone. Morning broke with a heavy stillness that seeped into their bones. Neither Michael nor Emily had slept. Each time Emily closed her eyes, she saw Lily's stuffed bunny in the grass. Each time Michael blinked, he saw Ranger losing the scent. The world outside felt unfamiliar, as if the night had stolen something it refused to return. By dawn, their street looked like a command center. Police cars on both sides. Yellow markers in the yard. Radios crackling. Volunteers arriving with flashlights, maps, bottled water. Ranger stood at the center of it all, tail stiff, pacing with agitation. His handler, Officer Davis, experienced and calm, kept trying to redirect him. But Ranger wasn't acting like a trained dog. He kept pulling toward the woods, sniffing the ground, barking at shadows, as if he knew something no human could understand. Search teams spread across the neighborhood. Some walked the creek bed. Others moved through dense brush, calling Lily's name until their voices cracked. Drones flew overhead. Helicopters circled with spotlights, slicing through morning fog. Hours passed. Not a single clue emerged. Every so often, an officer came to Michael and Emily with updates, each one more discouraging. We're expanding the search area. No signs yet. We're covering all ground. Emily clung to Michael, whispering through tears, "She's just 5. She's just 5. Meanwhile, Ranger kept returning to one specific spot in the woods, circling, whining, digging frantically. Officer Davis frowned more each time. "He's never behaved like this," he told Michael quietly. "It's like she was here, recently." But every time the dog locked onto a direction, the trail vanished again, like someone had wiped it away. By late afternoon, the search team pulled back to regroup. Emily collapsed onto the porch steps, staring blankly at the trees. Michael knelt beside her, holding her hands. The day had been brutal, and despite an entire army searching, they were no closer to finding Lily. But Ranger wasn't finished. The house no longer felt like home. Every corner held memories of their daughter. Crayons scattered on the table. Tiny socks on the armchair. Her storybook still lying open. Everything waiting for her return. Emily wandered the hallway and stopped at Lily's door, slightly ajar, exactly how Lily always left it. She stepped inside, the sight hitting her like a blow. The pink blanket, the half-done puzzle, the tiny shoes neatly lined up. She picked up Lily's stuffed bear and clutched it, the faint strawberry scent breaking her. She sank to the floor, sobbing. Downstairs, Michael sat on the couch replaying Lily's last words. "Just 5 minutes, Daddy. Please." He had said yes. He hadn't gone with her. That guilt tore him apart. The police radio kept crackling. Search team returning. No new findings. Volunteers arriving. Every message felt like another piece of hope falling away. Officer Davis stopped by with Ranger beside him. The dog was dusty and tired, but his eyes were sharp, too sharp. He sat in front of Emily, staring intensely, ears forward. Not relaxed, not calm, watching her as though trying to make her understand something. He let out a low, mournful whine that made Emily shiver. Night settled, cold and heavy. Emily couldn't bring herself to close Lily's door. The little nightlight glowed in the darkness. Michael stayed up staring at the forest. "What if we never see her again?" he whispered. "We will," Emily said, though fear hollowed her voice. Outside, Ranger silhouettes stood briefly in the shadows, watching their home, waiting. Something was beginning, something no one understood. Exactly 7 days after Lily vanished, everything changed. The evening was eerily still. Michael sat on the couch, staring at the muted TV. Emily rested against him, drained and empty. Then tap, tap, scratch. A sharp noise at the window jolted them. Michael stood, pulled back the curtain, and stumbled backward. Ranger, the same police dog. He stood on his hind legs, paws against the glass, eyes blazing with urgency. His breath fogged the window as he stared directly at Michael, muscles tense, tail rigid. He wasn't barking. He wasn't moving. He was demanding their attention. Emily rushed to Michael's side, her hand over her mouth. "Why is he here?" she whispered. Ranger should have been miles away with Officer Davis. The dog scratched again, deliberate, sharp, impossible to ignore. With trembling hands, Michael unlatched the window and slowly pulled it open. "Ranger, what are you doing here, boy?" Michael whispered. The moment he cracked the window open, Ranger shoved his nose through the gap, whining with frantic desperation. His ears were pinned tight against his head, eyes flicking between Michael and the dark stretch of woods behind the house, as if begging him to look. That's when flashing red and blue lights lit up the front lawn. Officer Davis hurried toward the porch, Out of breath. I'm so sorry. He broke loose again. Ran straight here. He clipped the leash onto Ranger's harness, but the dog yanked back immediately, growling low. Not at Davis. Not at Michael. At something behind the house. Michael stepped out carefully, his heart thudding. Why would he come here? Davis shook his head helplessly. I don't know. He's been off ever since the search. Ranger barked sharply, jerking the leash toward the tree line with such force that Davis almost stumbled. His whole body was straining, wild, urgent, desperate. This was a routine K9 behavior. This was a plea. Emily stepped onto the porch, voice barely steady. Do you think he smells her? Davis hesitated, eyes softening. I wish I had an answer. Ranger interrupted with another explosive bark, slamming his paws onto the wood. He wasn't lost, confused, or acting out. He was trying to tell them something. Something they weren't ready to face. The next evening, exactly 7:14 p.m., it happened again. Tap, tap, scratch. Michael and Emily froze. They exchanged a look of fear and disbelief. Michael approached the window slowly, dread rising like cold water up his spine. He pulled the curtain aside. Ranger, standing exactly as he had the night before, paws on the glass, breath fogging the window, eyes burning with urgency. Emily whispered, "Oh my God!" He came back. Michael opened the window barely an inch. Ranger immediately shoved his muzzle inside, whining louder than the previous night. His tail wasn't wagging. It was stiff, locked. He wasn't visiting them. He was signaling them. Moments later, headlights cut across the yard. Officer Davis jogged up, breathless and visibly frustrated. I swear, this dog has never behaved like this. The second I turned around, he bolted. Emily's voice trembled. Why does he keep coming here? Davis exhaled heavily. I don't know anymore. None of this lines up with typical tracking instincts. Ranger barked violently, pulling with raw force. His claws scraped the concrete as he dragged them toward the woods, the same spot where his trail had mysteriously vanished a week earlier. Michael swallowed hard. He keeps staring back there, almost like he's trying to show us something. Davis nodded reluctantly. I'll bring him back into the woods tomorrow. Maybe he's picking up a new scent. But Ranger growled again, deep, painful. Not at Davis. Not at the house. At the forest. At something waiting out there. That night, Emily barely slept. She kept hearing the tapping in her head. Kept seeing Ranger's eyes through the window. Wide, desperate, intentional. Michael lay awake too, staring at the ceiling, feeling dread settle into him like fog. Night 3. 7:14 p.m. Tap. Tap. Scratch. Ranger appeared again, this time with mud caked on his paws, panting harder, eyes wild with intensity. When Michael eased the window open, Ranger pressed something against the glass. Small, dirty, pink, a torn piece of cloth. Emily gasped. T, that looks like, I know, Michael whispered. They called the police immediately. Officers examined it under flashlights, shaking their heads. There's debris all over these woods. Could be anything. Ranger erupted with furious barking, his entire frame trembling. The officers dismissed it as stress. Michael and Emily did not. Something was happening, something growing, and Ranger was the only one trying to break through the silence. Night 4. Ranger didn't tap, he ran. They heard him before seeing him. Heavy paws pounding on the porch, rapid, frantic barks slicing through the night. Michael rushed to the window. Ranger slammed both paws against the glass, shaking the frame. Emily clutched her chest. Something's wrong. He's acting like the house is burning. Michael flung open the door. Ranger bolted inside, ignoring commands, ignoring Davis's distant shouts as he chased after him up the driveway. The dog sprinted straight for Lily's room, claws skidding on the hallway floor. Emily gasped and followed. In Lily's doorway, Ranger stopped, sniffed wildly, whined, long and aching, then turned to look at Emily with eyes full of pleading. This wasn't misbehavior. It was communication. Davis finally burst inside, panting. I don't know what's gotten into him. He escaped his kennel this time. Ranger ignored him completely. He went back to front door, nudging it repeatedly, then rushed outside again, circling the house. Moments later, he returned to the window, pressing something new against the glass. A tiny, frayed pink shoelace. Emily's breath caught. That looks like Lily's sneaker lace. Davis examined it. We can't confirm that. Many brands. Ranger growled sharply, making everyone freeze. He wasn't growling at the lace. He was growling at being ignored. Michael knelt in front of the dog. Ranger, where did you get this? Ranger instantly spun and sprinted toward the back fence, barking with explosive urgency. He wanted someone to follow. But when Davis stepped forward, Ranger moved in front of Michael instead, blocking him, nudging him, insisting. Why me? Michael whispered. Ranger whined, pawing at the dirt, eyes locked on his. Emily's voice cracked. He's choosing you. He's trying to lead you. But those woods were dark, dangerous, endless. And yet, Ranger kept barking, furious, frantic, nearly broken. Something waited out there. Something only he could sense. Night 5. Emily shattered. She sat on Lily's bed, clutching her little pink sweater, the one she wore even in summer. She pressed it to her chest, breathing in the faint bubblegum scent still clinging to the fabric. Her voice cracked into desperate whispers. Baby, where are you? Mama's right here. Please come home. Michael stood silently in the doorway, helpless. Words meant nothing anymore. Then tap, tap, scratch. Emily stiffened. No, not again. Ranger's silhouette appeared at the window, paws scraping the glass, eyes blazing with emotion far too human. Desperation. Emily stumbled downstairs, tears streaming. Why does he keep coming? What does he want from us? Michael cracked the window, but this time, Ranger didn't shove his nose inside. He barked at Emily, not Michael, not the woods. Her, frantic, high-pitched, pointed. Then he pressed his forehead gently against the glass, a soft, trembling, heart-shattering gesture. Emily pressed her palm to the same spot, sobbing. It's my fault, she whispered. If I had gone outside with her, she wouldn't be gone. Ranger barked so sharply she flinched, as if shouting stop. Then he spun and bolted into the yard, stopping halfway to the woods. He turned back, not to Michael, to her. Emily's heartbeat stumbled. He was asking her to follow. Maybe this wasn't a cry for help. Maybe he was telling them Lily was still alive. Night 6, 7:14 p.m. This time Ranger didn't bring noise. He brought a message. He slammed both paws against the window, so hard a picture frame rattled. Mud streaked down the glass as he dragged his paws with deliberate precision. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Emily stepped forward, confused. Why is he drawing? Ranger did it again. Same strokes, same angles. Michael leaned in. 2 slanted lines on the left. A gap. 1 long line on the right. Emily's voice trembled. That's a number. 21. Ranger barked once, confirming. But what does 21 mean? Michael whispered. Ranger repeated the strokes once more. 2 on the left, 1 on the right. He wasn't drawing shapes. He was giving instructions. A direction. A path. A location. Emily's eyes widened. Michael, what if he's marking a turn? A route? A place in the woods? Ranger leapt off the porch, circled the side of the house, then returned, pressing his muddy paw at the same angle as before. Emily gasped. Michael, I think he's showing us where to go. Michael felt fear climb up his spine, like ice. 2 steps left, 1 step right. They both turned toward the woods as the pattern clicked in their minds. Ranger barked again, sharp, urgent, then bolted toward a tree line, weaving left twice, right once, before coming to a dead stop and staring back at them. Michael's breath hitched. He's showing us the route. Officer Davis arrived just as Ranger made his last directional turn. He slowed to a halt, confusion written across his face. What is he doing now? Davis muttered. Emily pointed at the muddy marks streaking the window. He's trying to lead us somewhere. Davis stared between Ranger, the window, and the looming woods. Ranger repeated the exact pattern again. 2 steps left, 1 right. This time barking between each movement. forcing him to understand. A cold shiver crawled up Emily's spine. What if this is where the trail actually starts? Ranger let out a deep, low growl. Not aggressive, affirming. Michael grabbed his flashlight. Emily reached for her coat. Ranger turned tense, tail stiff as a rod. Ready? The message couldn't have been clearer. The muddy numbers weren't numbers at all. The scratches weren't random. They were a map, a path, a clue hidden in plain sight. And Ranger wasn't waiting another minute. The forest loomed like a wall of darkness, silent, vast, and unnervingly still. No wind, no moon, just shadows frozen in place, like they were watching. Michael hesitated at the tree lean. Emily, maybe we should wait for the police. But Ranger sprinted ahead before she could answer, stopping just far enough to remain visible. He whipped around and barked twice, sharp and echoing through the stillness. His body vibrated with urgency. Emily's voice trembled. Michael, he's been trying to show us this for days. And if this leads to her, she couldn't finish. She didn't have to. Michael inhaled shakily and lifted the flashlight. We follow him. Ranger took off instantly. His pace was fast. Too fast for a casual walk. Too slow to lose them. Every few seconds he'd stop, look back, and bark, urging them to stay close. 2 steps left. 1 step right. Just like the muddy markings. The deeper they went, the heavier the air became. Thick, suffocating, as if the entire forest was holding its breath. Twigs snapped beneath their boots. Branches brushed their shoulders. Ranger led them down a narrow, overgrown trail no search team had ever checked. Emily's heartbeat pounded louder than her steps. Why did anyone search this part? Michael swallowed. Because it isn't on the official grid. It's outside the map perimeter. Suddenly, Ranger slowed, nose pressed to the earth, sniffing intensely. He let out a soft whine, then bolted forward again, faster, pulling them deeper until the trees opened into a small clearing. Emily stopped dead, her breath hitched in her throat. The clearing was silent, untouched, but faint footprints dotted the muddy patch of earth. Tiny ones. Her knees buckled. Michael, these are Lily's. These are Lily's footprints. He held her tightly as she trembled, but Ranger didn't pause. He barked sharply and sprinted to the far side of the clearing, where thick vines draped over something large, something wooden. Michael's voice came out in a whisper. What is that? They stepped closer, flashlight beams trembling. Ranger clawed furiously at the vines, ripping at roots and leaves. Beneath them was a structure, a wide drainage tunnel entrance, rusted, ancient, almost entirely devoured by nature. Michael shook his head. This wasn't on any map. Emily swallowed, and none of the officers mentioned it. Ranger scratched harder, frantic, desperate, as if trying to dig his way inside. He growled, not in warning, but urgency, pleading. Michael crouched near the opening and froze. A faint, rhythmic sound echoed from deep within. Tap, tap, tap. Emily's breath hitched violently. Michael, do you hear that? His face went pale. Yes. Tap, tap, tap. Ranger backed away from the entrance, whining loudly, nudging them toward the opening. Michael whispered, voice shaking. Someone's in there. Ranger's eyes said the rest. Follow me. Now. The tunnel yawned open like the mouth of something ancient, rusted metal teeth lining the edges, damp concrete walls disappearing into darkness. A rush of cold. Stale air drifted out, hissing softly. Emily instinctively grabbed Michael's arm. Ranger didn't follow them in. He stood at the threshold, stiff and alert, eyes locked onto the darkness. Then tap, tap, tap. Softer now. Weaker. Human. Emily choked out a whisper. That's not an animal, Michael. He nodded, voice thin. I know. Ranger barked sharply, then stepped backward, as if pushing them in. But then, unexpectedly, he froze. He whined, trembling, refusing to enter. Michael frowned. Why won't he go inside? Ranger looked up with eyes full of fear, urgency, warning. His entire body quivered, not from exhaustion, but from something else. Something inside that tunnel that even a trained K-9 didn't want to face. Emily whispered, If he's scared, what's in there? The tapping came again, slower. Tap, tap, then a faint, broken whimper. Emily's eyes filled instantly. Michael, Lily whimpers like that when she's scared. That's her. That has to be her. Michael stepped closer, shining his flashlight inside. The beam stretched down a long corridor, catching droplets of water in slick concrete, but revealing nothing else. Ranger barked again, this time not commanding, but pleading. He paced frantically around Michael, brushing against his legs, trying to pull him back. Emily whispered, "He doesn't want us going in." Michael shook his head. "No, he doesn't want us going alone." Emily pulled out her phone with trembling hands and dialed the police. Within minutes, officers arrived with gear and flashlights. Davis crouched beside Ranger, brow furrowed. "I've worked with him for years. I've never seen him like this. He's alerting and warning at the same time." An officer scoffed. "Probably raccoons or something." Ranger growled, deep, sharp, dangerously clear. The officer went silent. Michael's voice was ice cold. "That wasn't an animal. Someone is tapping from inside." Davis nodded grimly. "We'll check it out." Two officers entered the tunnel cautiously. Ranger whimpered nonstop, pacing in tight, frantic circles. Then a shout from deep inside. "There's something back here!" Ranger exploded into violent barking. Emily's knees weakened. Michael's heart froze. The truth was starting to break open, and none of them were ready for what was waiting deeper in the dark. That night, a violent storm devoured the sky. Lightning cracked through the blackness, illuminating the forest in jagged white flashes. The wind shrieked against the house, rattling windows and clawing at the glass. Michael and Emily sat together in silence on the couch, staring into the chaos, neither able to speak. The officers had returned to the station hours earlier, promising to resume the search at dawn. But something gnawed at Emily's chest, pulsing like a warning. Then, 7:14 p.m. exactly. Bang, bang, scratch. Michael jumped to his feet. No way. Not in this weather. Emily rushed to the window. She yanked the curtain aside, and her breath shattered. Ranger stood outside in the torrent, drenched, coated in mud, chest heaving, eyes blazing with desperate urgency. He slammed his paws against the glass again, barking over the thunder with a fury that shook the living room. Emily gasped. What is he doing out here alone? Headlights cut across the yard. Officer Davis stumbled toward them through the storm, completely soaked. He shouted over the wind. He escaped again, broke out of the station, jumped the fence, came straight here. Ranger barked in Davis's face, then at Michael, then toward the woods, stopping only long enough to look back. Follow me. Now. Lightning flashed, and in that split second Michael saw it. Ranger was shaking violently, not with fear, with urgency. Emily grabbed her coat, tears streaming. He's trying to tell us something is happening right now. Ranger sprinted into the storm, slipping but refusing to stop. He kept glancing back with wide, pleading eyes. Michael turned to Davis. Call your team. We're going back to that tunnel tonight. Davis hesitated. In this storm? It's too dangerous. Ranger barked in his face, a furious, deafening scream. Emily stepped forward, voice shaking but burning with resolve. My daughter is out there, and he knows something. I'm not waiting until morning. Ranger barked again and tore into the forest. Michael grabbed a flashlight. Emily followed. Davis cursed, yelled into his radio, and ran after them. The storm swallowed their silhouettes as they plunged into the trees. Ranger led them with relentless speed. With every flash of lightning, Michael and Emily saw the same truth. Something was happening inside that tunnel tonight, and they were running out of time. The storm raged like a living beast, ripping branches from trees and turning the ground into sucking mud. But Ranger didn't slow. Not for the wind, not for the thunder, not for darkness. Finally, he skidded to a stop at the clearing. The same clearing where Lily's footprints had been found. But tonight, something was different. The vines over the tunnel entrance were ripped, torn apart, hanging in shreds. Not by weather, by someone. Emily gripped Michael's arm. Oh, God! Please let her be alive. Ranger sprinted aside of the clearing and barked furiously at a mound of soaked leaves piled unnaturally at the base of a crooked tree. He clawed at them, flinging mud until... thud. Michael rushed forward. Ranger scraped faster until a wooden surface emerged beneath the debris. A plank, drenched, framed with rusted metal hinges. A hidden door. "Help me!" Michael shouted. Together, they cleared the rest of the covering that Emily's breath caught when the final layer of debris slid aside. It wasn't a fallen board at all. It was a trapdoor, ancient, heavy, perfectly disguised beneath soil, vines, and scattered leaves. No search team ever had a chance of spotting it. Even a drone would have flown right over it. Ranger hurled himself at the wooden slab, claws tearing into it with frantic determination. Splinters flew as he scratched, whining and barking as if time itself were slipping away. Officer Davis burst through the trees, panting. What is that?" he gasped. "A hidden entrance," Michael replied, voice shaking. Ranger found it. Davis dropped to his knees immediately, grabbing the rusted metal ring embedded in the plank. It didn't move an inch. Ranger barked again, deep, furious, demanding they hurry. Michael grabbed the ring beside Davis. Emily braced her shoulder under the edge to add force. All three of them pulled with everything they had. The hinges screamed. Rust snapped. The wood cracked apart. Slowly, inch by agonizing inch, the door lifted. A blast of cold, rotten air exploded upward from the darkness below. Emily gagged. What is that smell?" Davis raised his flashlight and pointed it down. A narrow ladder descended into a concrete bunker, an underground room buried beneath the forest. Ranger whined sharply, nose pressed to the opening, trembling with fear and hope tangled together. Emily's voice quivered. "Michael, someone's been living under here." A crack of lightning tore across the sky, followed by thunder. But this time, the rumble didn't drown out the sound rising from the darkness. A cry, thin, weak, human. Ranger erupted into a panicked, desperate bark. "She's down there," Michael breathed. Davis didn't hesitate. He climbed down first, flashlight jittering in his grip. Michael followed, heart hammering so violently it hurt. Emily froze at the top until Ranger nudged her leg, whining, urging her to go. He needed her to follow. With a trembling breath, she descended. The underground chamber was freezing. Every exhale fogged the air. Concrete walls, dirt floor, old crates piled in one corner, a stained mattress. A single dim bulb swayed from a wire overhead, throwing haunting shadows that crept across the room. Michael's flashlight swept the floor, then stopped. Something small huddled in the corner, shaking, curled tight. Emily froze halfway down the ladder. Lily, the tiny figure stirred. A fragile whimper escaped. Michael bolted toward her, nearly tripping in his rush. "Lily, baby, it's Daddy. It's me. I'm here." She recoiled at the sudden noise, pressing herself against the wall, as if bracing for pain. But when the light hit her face, Emily collapsed to her knees. It was Lily, pale, exhausted, hair tangled, wrists scraped raw, wrapped in a filthy blanket. She clutched like armor. Her voice cracked. "Daddy!" Michael gathered her into his arms, gripping her as if she might vanish again. She clung to him with fragile arms, trembling violently. Emily dropped beside them, pulling Lily into her embrace. "Mommy's here. Mommy's here, baby. I've got you. I'm right here." Lily sobbed into her mother until her voice dropped to a terrified whisper. He said he was coming back tonight. Davis stiffened. "What man, Lily? Who?" Her trembling finger lifted and pointed toward the ladder. "He lives up there in the woods." Emily's face went white. Michael hugged Lily tighter, shielding her. Davis grabbed his radio, voice sharp. "Dispatch! We need immediate backup. Now!" But Lily wasn't finished. I wasn't alone. Michael froze. "What do you mean?" Lily's lip quivered. She pointed toward the crates. Ranger growled, low and warning. Davis swept his flashlight over the spot. A small lump under another blanket. Another child. Everyone went still. Storm roaring above them. Silence choking the room below. Davis stepped forward and lifted the blanket. A little boy, filthy, terrified, maybe 7 years old, flinched from the light. Emily gasped. Michael's heart dropped into his stomach. Lily squeezed her mother and whispered. He cried a lot. I told him we'd be okay. I told him Ranger would find us. Davis wrapped the boy in his jacket. Medics. Immediately, he barked into the radio. But Michael's mind kept circling one thing. Someone was coming back tonight. Someone who lived nearby. Someone who knew the forest intimately. Davis met his eyes. Someone who's been right under our noses. Ranger suddenly snapped his head upward and growled, teeth bared, staring at the ladder. Footsteps. Heavy, slow, directly above them. Emily whispered, trembling, "Oh, God!" He came back. Davis shoved the children and Emily behind Michael. Stay down. He climbed halfway up the ladder, gun raised, flashlight aimed upward. The beam struck a figure standing at the edge of the trapdoor. A man, tall, soaked, eyes wild. Michael's entire body went cold. That's our neighbor." Davis steadied his aim. "Sir, don't move." The man smirked. A twisted, chilling smile. "You should have stayed out of this." Ranger exploded upward, barking with such fury the forest itself seemed to shake. The man stumbled back, slipping on the slick ground. Davis lunged out of the trapdoor, pinning him with the gun's barrel. Sirens cut through the storm as backup flooded the clearing. The man bolted, tried to vanish into the forest. But Ranger tackled him within seconds, forcing him to the ground with a rage no one had ever seen from him. Handcuffs snapped tight. Davis exhaled shakily. "We've got our abductor." Emily clung to Lily, sobbing. Lily whispered, "I told you, Mommy." Ranger always knew. For the first time in 2 weeks, Emily believed it. By morning, the storm had cleared. Sunlight filtered through the wet branches. Birds returned. The forest breathed again. Medics rushed Lily and the boy to ambulances. Emily refused to let go of Lily's hand for even a moment, smoothing her hair and crying with relief. Michael stood outside, watching in silence, the weight of 2 weeks finally lifting off his shoulders. Davis approached. "She's stable. Weak, dehydrated, but she's a fighter." Michael nodded. "She always has been." Ranger trotted over, exhausted and muddy, but his eyes, those sharp, loyal eyes, were soft now, peaceful. The desperation was gone. Emily knelt, hands cupping his face. "You saved her," she whispered. "You saved my baby." Ranger leaned into her touch, closing his eyes. Michael knelt beside them. "You never gave up, not even when we did." Ranger wagged his tail weakly. That afternoon, under warm sunlight, doctors brought the news they prayed for. Both children were safe. Emily cried again, this time with joy. Ranger barked once, proud, as if confirming the mission was complete. That night, under the hospital lights, officers guided Ranger into the patrol SUV. He paused, turning back. Lily lifted her tiny hand. "Ranger, you're my angel." His tail thumped gently. Reporters had already arrived, filming every moment. Michael looked into the cameras, voice trembling as he spoke the line that would soon go viral. "If your heart tells you something's wrong, listen. If someone needs help, act. And never underestimate a dog's instincts. Because today, that instinct saved a child, exposed the truth, and turned a loyal dog into a hero the world will never forget."